Welcome to Evidentia. This is the March update. We've been getting tons of feedback from our pilot trials, and a common trend is how to effectively communicate so much dense scientific information. We're processing thousands of documents, so we need an effective way to give this information to the users so they're not overwhelmed. How we've been doing that is by breaking up the evidence scan. So I'll start with explaining what an evidence scan is. This is searching for all the published scientific information relevant to a given research goal. So you can see here in this example, we are looking at parameters to improve the production in CHO cell cultures. Now we have a database for papers, PhD theses, patents, and clinical trial data, and we go and get all that information, those documents, and scan them in full. This is a key differentiator of Evidentia, as we actually process the full text documents. So you can see here, the first section is summarizing the key findings. So some key findings for this topic is the importance of downshifting the temperature, useful supplementations, and you'll see all of these have citations. So you can see here, this has the link to the patent and also the quotes from the patent document. So you have the source material available. We also put this into a kind of report structure, just a quick summary, and this will give you a high level overview of the evidence in this scan. Then we have the actual evidence table. This is where we cluster things into different topics and show how many sources they have supporting them. So you can see here, obviously temperature is a major factor. Lots of work being done there. Feeding as well, pH. So you can see all these different commonly explored variables. Then we have a large end of tail end variables. Rather than showing all this information, we actually recommend you use the research agent. So you can come to the research agent and ask it a question. And in this case, we're looking at novel tail end findings in this scan. Now, how the research agent works is it's an LLM, but it's grounded in the evidence scan. And this is actually going to give you a much more detailed answer than if you just went and asked ChatGPT. If you went and asked ChatGPT, it has to go do the search, and then whatever documents it finds on the internet, it'll use that to answer it. But we've done the search in a separate step, and we've done it really in depth. Our search is pretty extreme. We go quite far, as you can see, finding literally thousands of documents and processing them in their full text. We get a lot more detailed and in-depth answers. So if you use the research agent in this evidence scan, you'll actually get a very different response than, say, if we did it in the monoclonal antibody production, because it's going to be grounded in different source material, so you can get very specific answers. You can see here it's come back with the answer and given us some unconventional variables we can explore. Now, I find this kind of funny. They're looking at actual physical variables like vibrating it. So you're almost going to be tickling the cells to improve their production. It's a pretty wild area of research. And again, it has all the references and citations with links to those source material easily accessible. Now, I'll come back to the summary. The last way we organize this information is by a table, and this is really if you're interested in searching a particular topic. So say I was interested in glucose, I can search glucose, and you can see here the key findings and the supporting documents for this variable. All of our sources are available, and you can export them into your preferred software. We split them out by where they come from. So these are the papers, PhD theses, patents. We have clinical trial data. It's not really relevant for this scan, but you see here some clinical trial data as well. And something we're working on is updating this weekly, so you have the latest science constantly updated for you. Finally, we have the expert network. So we have all these published documents, and then we have all the authors behind those documents, and we actually build a profile on these authors, and we split them up into areas you're interested in. So you can see here we were interested in glucose. So these are all the authors working on the glucose, and they have a profile. So you can reach out to them and ask them more about their work and pursue a potential collaboration. We can also do this by geography. If you're interested in people in your country, you can see a lot of work being done in the US on this. And the institute. Perhaps you have existing relationships with a particular institute. You can find them here and try do those collaborations. Finally, we have our request data. So what we've realized is the evidence scan is kind of the high level overview of this topic, but we can get a lot better answers by doing a deep dive on them. And there's two areas we've been getting requests for this. One is for protocols. I think anyone who's worked on the lab bench as a scientist knows the struggle of reading a methods section, and there's just not enough information in there to replicate the experiment. So if you request the protocol, we will go and do a deep dive on this topic, structure all the messy methodologies across these thousands of documents, and give you a clear and easy to understand method section you can follow. This also includes doing outreach to our expert network so we can get the tacit knowledge that is not published, so you have the full information to run that experiment. The other really popular request we're getting is for structured data sets. This is for companies if you want to create your own AI models. It's become very popular recently. But most science is communicated in PDF documents, and this data is just not sufficient for training AI models. So we will go out, structure all this messy scientific data into clean training data sets for you. And again, this also includes doing outreach to the expert network to get those data sets that weren't included in the publication. This is commonly negative data sets. So a lot of challenges in scientific machine learning is all your training data is positive examples, and then that gives the model a extreme bias. We have started collaborating with researchers, and we've actually got our first negative data set onto the platform, so you can give your model the full picture of the science and you'll get a much better performance. That is it for the March update. If you want to give it a go, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Michael Max Brown, or by email, michael@evidentia.bio, or you can check out our landing page, evidentia.bio. We can help you run some evidence scans and do deep dives by requesting data on protocols or data sets that would help your company do more groundbreaking science and waste less time on dead end leads.